Happy Valentine's Day, I should say. Hope your love life is well as you want it to be. It's important, I think, living in the dualistic world that we live in, right? North and south, east and west, up and down, positive and negative, winter, summer, spring and fall, good and bad, night and day. I mean, how much longer do you want me to go on, right? It's a dualistic world, universe in which we live in. Dualism is the run-of-the-mill. It's what's around us all of the time. It's the very nature of the world in which we inhabit, and it's much easier to manage life in a dualistic universe if you have a partner. It's much easier. Makes everything much easier. I'm very blessed to have the perfect partner. Very, very blessed indeed. You know what they say, life begins at 50. And so it was for me, hoping that you all experience the power of the perfect partner at some point in your lives. Had a live chat this morning. We have live chats 5 days a week. Sometimes we have live chats 4 days a week in one health webinar. Sometimes we have live chats 3 days a week and one Introduction to Longevity live webinar and one health webinar. We change it up all the time, but nonetheless, it's 5 hours of live webinars a week at your disposal if you become an insider. $20 a month, cancel at any time. If you buy a year's worth of subscription service, you get 2 months for free. For goodness sake, there were people on board this morning from Australia. It was midnight in Australia, and I think his name was Bryce from Australia. Was it Bryce? Yep, Bryce from Australia was with us. People from Hawaii, people from Hong Kong, people from Cyprus, people from London, people from all over the freaking planet, because our message is becoming a global message. It's a global message. And, you know, a global message is a good message, and this is how we get it done. There's no funny business with longevity. There's no conflation. There's no inflation. There's no hype. There's no conspiracy theory. There ain't no nothing here except good, old-fashioned, honest integrity and truth. Now, some people don't want to hear it. Everybody needs to hear it. Some people can't hear it. But that's just life, and that's not going to stop us from climbing onto the soapbox in the public square and saying, look, you know, aging is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I mean, most of the time. Not a whole lot that you can do about fate, right? Not a whole lot that you can do to prevent that automobile accident. Not a whole lot that you can do to prevent the inevitable slipping on the banana peel, right? But there is a lot that you can do to guard yourself against the stress of life and to strengthen your body, to support and promote your body's built-in God-given ability to fix itself. And that's all that we do. We don't make claims. We don't treat disease. We provide science-based, clinically verified. That's a very important term, clinically verified. Science-based, clinically verified health recovery strategies based on medical nutrition, which were developed and delivered by licensed physicians trained in medical nutrition. Right? I mean, everybody's got a specialty. If you really do need, a knee replacement, who are you going to go to? Your general practitioner? No. Going to go to a chiropractor? No. Going to go to a dentist for that? No. Going to go to a massage therapist for that? No. You're going to go to the orthopedic surgeon because that's what they do, right? That's their specialty. Well, my specialty and the specialty of thousands of my colleagues all around the world is the delivery of therapeutics which support and promote the body's ability to fix itself. We are the best comprehensive general practicing physicians on the planet. Let me say that again. We are the best general practicing physicians on the planet because we have a clue, not only as to the operative cause, presumptive or known, of your illness, But also, we have our fingers on the pulse of therapeutics designed to help your body recover its health to the ability that it's able. And, like the fella said, that's a good idea. Sure beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. If you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and if you know there must be a different way, then you're going to want to go to the experts in the field. It's in the same way that you wouldn't go to a dentist for a knee replacement surgery. You shouldn't go to Dr. Oz for advice about medical nutrition, because that ain't his thing. It's nobody's thing except us. We are the profession that flies that banner. So if you want to go right to the source, well, guess what? You found it. Now, on this radio program, what do? I present to the general public boilerplate protocols designed not to treat disease, but to support and promote your body's ability to optimize its function. And we can have a theoretical discussion about the notion that disease doesn't really even exist. Well, disease exists, but diagnostic names are just that. They're names. There's no such thing as arthritis, because you can't bring me a box of arthritis. You can bring me a box of apples. You can't bring me a box of type 2 diabetes. You can bring me a box of oranges. You can't bring me a box of migraine headaches. You can bring me a box of bananas. All right, those are real things. Diagnostic names are intangible terms we have given, that medical professionals have developed to make it easier to talk amongst themselves about things, so that they know that when doctors get together and we're talking about migraine headaches, we all know that we're in the same ballpark. But medical education as such has gotten so out of hand and so out of control and just so completely stupid, because it's all controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. It's not real medicine. It's the delivery of drugs. It's the delivery of drugs. It's not real medicine. It's the delivery of drugs. Your medical student at Harvard University, at Tufts, wherever they are not trained in medicine. They're trained in how to diagnose things and then to deliver drugs. That's it. There ain't no medicine going on there. Well, there's pharmacological medicine going on there. So, doctors have been socialized, have been brainwashed of a sort, into believing that, arthritis is a real thing. Well, arthritis isn't a real thing. Arthritis is an intangible term we've given to a complex set of symptoms that exist in a living, breathing human being. We do not treat arthritis. That's impossible. You can't just treat a joint. You can't do it. It's impossible. Everything's connected. You treat the person who has the illness, because everything's connected. And this is the fundamental, paramount, numero uno, foundation naturopathic philosophy. Foundation naturopathic philosophy. Treat the patient, not the disease. You treat the patient, not the disease. You treat the person, not the disease. So, we don't treat asthma, but we support and promote the structure and function of the respiratory tract. We don't treat high blood pressure, but we support and promote the structure and function of your cardiovascular system. We don't treat arthritis, but we support and promote the structure and function of your musculoskeletal system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's more than semantics, and it's not a dodge. It's more than semantics, and it's not a dodge. It's not just another way of saying the same thing. It's a way of saying a thing that's more accurate than the other way. See, but the medical doctors, because they don't really care about the person, they don't have a holistic view or understanding, they actually think they're treating arthritis. They're not. Even when you throw a drug into the body, the intention of which is to reduce inflammation somewhere in the body, how does the body figure out to send that drug to the knee? How does it figure that out? Nobody knows. Therein lies the mystery that every doctor in the world has completely overlooked. It's like a 1,000,000-pound gorilla staring them straight in the face. When you deliver a synthetic drug into the system, how does it know where to go? Well, your physician will tell you it goes everywhere, but it doesn't. Oh, the drugs do go everywhere in the system, but they only affect certain parts of the body. And how is that possible? I mean, how does nutrition figure out where to go? How does insulin figure out where to go? How does the macrophage and the T helper cell in your body figure out where to go? And what the hell is a virus anyway? Wait, is it alive? Is it dead? What is it? You know, a virus can live on the countertop for 1,000 years or survive on the countertop for 1,000 years. It's not alive. It's not dead. It's like a zombie. And then all of a sudden it gets picked up by a host and enters into a living, breathing organism, whether it's an animal or a human, and all of a sudden it starts creating metabolic reactions. It comes alive, so to speak. Well, what's up with that? Nobody knows what's up with that, and medical science doesn't want to go down that road, because if they went down that road, they'd be entering over into the field of holistic metaphysics, and oh no, we can't do that. That's heresy. Let's just drain some more blood, boys. Let's just open up another vein, because that's what we do best. Well, you know what, folks? It's Friday, right? And the short story here is, in order for you to be healthy, you need to stop eating food that's coming up the works. 10 bad foods. Download that list for free on my website, fireyourmdnow.com. Clicked on the link to sign up for my newsletter, and the instructions are right there. Number 1, stop eating the 10 bad foods. Number 2, get on board with a minimum of 1 healthy start pack a month. If everybody in this listening audience just got 1 healthy start pack, that's it. I don't care if you weigh 1,000 pounds. You get 1 healthy start pack, and you eliminate the 10 bad foods. Within 4 weeks, you will experience a noticeable, measurable, positive change somewhere in your body. And that's what we do. Support the body's ability to fix itself, deliver noticeable, measurable results, and then just keep riding that horse into the bright, undiscovered country of holistic medical health. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Guess what? This is Fire Your MD Now, and we mean it. Stick around, back after these messages. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you on Valentine's Day 2014. Valentine's Day 2014. Let's go to Michigan and talk to Dave about a white tongue. That's interesting. Hey, Dave. Thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hey, Doc. I got to start with a happy Valenversary to my lovely wife of 32 years. Today we were married, and happy anniversary, or happy
You got married on Valentine's Day?
I certainly did. 32 years ago, brother.
You dog, you. Well, hey, man, that's great. You know what they say, happy wife, happy life, and that takes the cake, man. I've heard of getting married on your birthday. I've heard of getting married on New Year's Day or Christmas Day, but on Valentine's Day, man, I don't know why I've never heard of that, but kudos to you, man. Kudos to you. Good job.
Thank you. Okay, we got a 27-year-old man, about 5'6", 180. Feels like an old man, knees, shoulders, manual labor kind of guy, works midnights, drinks a lot of Mountain Dew, doesn't sleep well. He's a gamer, and, we're looking. Oh, and he's got a white tongue.
He's got a white coat on his tongue?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. The tongue, of course. Now, talk about getting into unknown territory. When the human body grows itself, it's a little tiny single-celled organism, and then it becomes fertilized, and then it starts to grow, right? Well, then at first it turns into 2 cells, and then it turns into 4 cells, and then it turns into 8 cells, and then the whole thing explodes. The tongue forms in the cell, in the fetus. The tongue forms in the fetus from the same part of the cellular matrix that the heart forms from. The tongue and the heart are intimately related. And in Chinese medicine, they're all over this concept that they call the tongue the opening to the heart, and there's an intimate relationship between the tongue and the heart. And if you've ever you want to have a very unique experience, visit a traditional Chinese medical person, especially if they're Oriental themselves or they've grew up in China and then they immigrated to Canada or the United States or where the UK or wherever people live in the listening audience, because the Chinese medical diagnosis takes into consideration the shape and the color and the consistency and the texture of the tongue in order to figure out what's happening in the rest of the body. It's a very, very involved process, and there are all these different distinctions that can show up in the tongue. Now, from a purely mundane Western medical point of view, whiteness on the tongue can be an indication that there is too much sugar present in the body. Too much sugar present in the body. It may be a function of faulty sugar metabolism, which would be consistent in my way of thinking with someone who drinks a ton of soda pop, whether it's Mountain Dew or Coca-Cola or ginger ale, I don't care. Because soda pop robs the body of minerals, and one of the first things that goes when the body is minerally deficient is its ability to process sugars. Now, the sleep problem is related to one of two things. It's either a sugar problem or too much caffeine. Mountain Dew, of course, is filled with caffeine. And, there are some people like my father. My father could drink a cup of coffee at 10 o'clock at night and be asleep at 10:30. I, on the other hand, if I drink a cup of coffee after 5 o'clock at night, I'm awake. I don't go to sleep until 3 or 4 in the morning. I have a very low tolerance to caffeine like that. Some people do and some people don't. So when anybody has a problem sleeping, the first thing you have to do to just kind of clear the deck and just see is stop anything that has caffeine in it, 100%. And, that includes decaf, because you can't decaffeinate anything 100%. There's 2, 3, 4% caffeine in everything that's decaffeinated. You can have caffeine-free, whatever you want, but you can't have anything with caffeine or anything with decaf. In order to see, it might be as simple as that. He may just be a slow metabolizer of caffeine. It may also be a blood sugar problem. In any event, how I would start with him would be the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack and 1 extra bottle of plant minerals. The Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, and selenium. And I'm knocking down my recommendations. I used to recommend 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month. Now my generic recommendation is 1 bottle of selenium per 100 pounds of body weight, okay, for the general public. So it's 1 Healthy Start Pack and 1 bottle of selenium. 1 Healthy Start Pack, 1 bottle of selenium, and 1 bottle of plant-derived minerals. Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, 1 Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, 1 bottle of selenium, and 1 bottle of plant-derived minerals per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Have him get into the habit of brushing his tongue, because that can help to remove just a normal white coat. There's a normal thin white coat on everybody's tongue. You can get rid of it by brushing the tongue. It's an interesting discipline to get into. In any event, that's where I would start, Dave. Keep up the good work, man. I appreciate everything that you do. And, hey, by the way, happy anniversary, man. Good job. In the worldwide live chat this morning, there were a couple questions I didn't have time to get around answering. We had over 60 people in the chat room, and there's only 60 minutes to do the chat, so you can understand the difficulty. Jennifer wrote, 33-year-old woman, celiac disease, totally gluten-free, and has no spleen because of an accident in her youth. She lives a stressful, busy life, gets shingles, pneumonia frequently due to no spleen. Shingles and pneumonia frequently due to no spleen. Is there anything extra we can do in order to support and promote the structure and function of her body? Well, the spleen is a very interesting organ. It's right next to the liver in the upper left part of the body. The liver is in the upper right part of the abdomen, underneath the lungs. The spleen is in the upper left part of the abdomen, underneath the lungs. The spleen is a blood filter, and it's also a reservoir for blood. It's very useful, if you get into some type of an accident, you start to bleed. Well, the presence of all the blood in the spleen is going to make it more difficult for you to bleed to death before you get medical attention. The spleen is also intimately connected with the immune system. And about half of the white blood cells that are made by the body, which is like the major police force of the body, are stored in the spleen. Stored in the spleen. I mean, it's a really pretty important part of the immune system. Not only are they stored in the spleen, but they're also manufactured in the spleen. The spleen also recycles iron, makes bilirubin, does a lot of things. And so you can live without the spleen, but it's not going to be a very happy life because your spleen is intimately connected with your immune system. And the question is appropriate because people without spleens tend to get more bacterial infections and more immune stuff than people with a spleen, right? Because your immune system is compromised because half of the police department has left the building. I mean, it's just, imagine your city, what crime in your city would be like if all of a sudden you woke up tomorrow and 60% of the police force was gone. It just wasn't there. It was gone. They just packed up and left. They're not there anymore. Well, crime would be a little bit more present, right? So what we can do when someone does not have a spleen is support and promote the body's ability to have a healthy immune system. And so how do we do that? Well, we do that with a diet that's high in protein, a diet that's high in protein, a diet that's low in sugar, elimination of the 10 bad foods, and taking the Healthy Start Pack and selenium every day, appropriate for body weight. Now, when an infection does start to show up, if it's a lung infection, then you do more essential fatty acids. If it's a prostate infection, you do the ProstFX. If it's infection in the skin, you do more glucogel, right? You just give to the body more of the stuff that part of the body is made from. And the killer biotic. You give the killer biotic when internally in order to help your body rally and fight the infection. And the recommendation would be 1 bottle of killer biotic per 100 pounds of body weight per month in the presence of an active fulminant infection. You can even give a little more, like 1.5 bottles a month if you feel so inclined. If anything topically shows up, and in this woman's case, it was shingles, right? So when she gets shingles are very painful. It's a painful inflammation of the nerve and the nerve root, and it always has a physical manifestation on the skin. So whenever you get shingles, you can spray the crap out of it with colloidal silver. And get Youngevity's colloidal silver and put it in a spray bottle and just spray the crap out of the shingles eruption. You know, once every hour, just spray it with some colloidal silver. Take the killer biotic internally. Take the Healthy Start Pack and selenium internally, eliminate the 10 bad foods, and eat a diet that's high in protein. That's a very, very, very good place to start. Another question that we had that we didn't get to, Pam from Orofino said, I'm doing your DVD series in our small community. Oh, that's a really good idea. That's an excellent way to help grow your Youngevity business. You have a meeting at your house or at a community center or in a church basement or somewhere, and you just stick in one of my DVDs and play it for the audience and then answer questions. I mean, how easy is that? Can you hit play and then answer questions? Very, very simple, easy, and effective way to spread our message of health recovery through science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. She says, on my cholesterol DVD, I talk about the balance between good and bad cholesterol. I have a lady, 119 pounds. She'd like to know what her cholesterol count should be, what is the range of a good glucose reading, what should her hemoglobin A1C be. She's a type 2 diabetic. Well, let's talk about cholesterol first. The honest answer, nobody knows. Nobody knows what healthy levels of cholesterol are. There is gigantic controversy inside the medical community right now. It's kind of like a kerfuffle, an academic kerfuffle. Because the Europeans released their recommendations, and then a month later the Americans released their recommendations, and they were in conflict, even though 4 of the authors were the same. They changed their minds in 4 weeks. So nobody knows what healthy levels of cholesterol are. Nobody knows what healthy levels of cholesterol. The MDs are guessing because it's not their wheelhouse. They'll tell you that your cholesterol needs to be lower because they sell more cholesterol-lowering drugs when they do that. And, I'm not exaggerating. They sell more drugs when they lower the cholesterol rates. They do it not because it's backed by science, but because they need to sell more stuff. And the unsuspecting people all around the world who kneel and genuflect at the altar of the MD every day just bend over and take it. And it's a big problem. Now, postmenopausal white woman, if this woman is postmenopausal and a white woman, the research clearly shows that total cholesterol over 300 is better. I said it out loud. The research clearly shows that if you are a postmenopausal white woman, total cholesterol over 300 is best for you. Now, what's the relationship between LDL and HDL and total cholesterol? Nobody knows. We believe that LDL, which has been characterized incorrectly by the popular press as bad cholesterol, is not a good cholesterol, and there's not a bad cholesterol. Those terms are not correct. But we like to see the LDL numbers be lower every time you get your blood work done, and the HDL numbers be higher. That's what I like to see. I'm not really concerned with those numbers at all, unless they are astronomically high or astronomically low. And as far as total cholesterol goes, I'm good if it is between 250 and 300 for anybody. And if you're a postmenopausal white woman, over 300, I am good to go. And, this is really where the research needs to be, but because the research is all controlled by the pharmaceutical industry, you're not going to get objective research about what healthy cholesterol levels are, and people all around the world suffer because of it. Eventually, at some point in time, this nonsense is going to change. But I have no idea when that is going to happen. Now, as far as hemoglobin A1C goes, there is a healthy reference range for hemoglobin A1C. And I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to reference that over the break. So stick with me, and when I come back from the break, I will dial in those numbers for you. And then we can all walk down the road of health together. Right now, let's go to Oregon and see what Alan's up to. I think he's got a sore arm. Hey, Alan, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Well, thanks for answering the phone.
I'm happy to do it, buddy. That's my job.
Good deal. Well, I listen to so many of your podcasts, wherever they're at, whether it's Joyce from the Power Hour or if you're on Alex Jones or whatever. I have a job where I'm able to really take the time to listen, and so I learn a lot by listening a lot. But my personal problem today is that I've noticed in about the last month, maybe 6 weeks, my right shoulder arm, up where the joints are very sore. And it's not quite necessarily arthritis per se, but even in the muscle. It could be both. It's almost like to the point where if somebody were to grab your arm and twist it behind your back and lift it up, it has that kind of, whoa, that is sore. And I have no strength there. I'm just
and did you sleep funny? Did you take a roller coaster ride? Were you rear-ended in a car accident? Did anything extracurricular happen right before this showed up?
Not at all. That's what has me so miffed.
Yeah, and you've never had anything like this at any other time in your life, right?
No, okay. Not at all.
All right. And what do you do for a living?
We have a sign for one of the big hotels.
I'm sorry? Come again?
I wave a sign. I'm like a sign waver. Like you see those guys spinning signs.
Oh, yeah. Well, right, where there's smoke, there's fire. So you overdid it physically. Didn't know that you overdid it physically, and now, you're in trouble. And again, that's another interesting thing to talk about, because that's similar physiologically to whiplash, right? So if somebody's driving down the road in a car, minding their own business, and they get slammed from behind by another motorist, and their neck whips back and, hits the headrest, and they get a classical whiplash, their neck feels kind of normal for 3 days. And then on the fourth day, they wake up and they feel like they were hit with a freaking ton of bricks. Nobody knows why it takes 3 days for the pain to show up, but it does. Which is why whenever anybody's in an automobile accident, it's encouraged. They encourage people to go and get a neck x-ray because your neck can be all whacked out because of the accident, but you're not going to feel it for 3 days.
Right.
And, by that time, it's too late for the insurance and the police report and everything. So it's very interesting. The body's funny in a couple of ways, and this is one of the ways that it's funny. So I'm going to hazard a guess to say that you overdid it, spinning one of those signs. You didn't know that you overdid it, and it showed up a couple days later, as a big bad voodoo daddy, and now, you're in the weeds. So if this was ostensibly, trauma to the muscle, ligaments, or soft tissue, then you need to support and promote the structure and function of that part of your body, and we do that with the Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack. The Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack, selenium and extra calcium. So the Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack, selenium, and 1 extra bottle of calcium. Now, there's an over-the-counter homeopathic medicine that you can get that may help. Is this the right shoulder or the left shoulder?
It's the right shoulder.
Okay, so go and pick up a bottle of something called Sanguinaria, S-A-N-G, like Godfrey, U-I-N-A-R-I-A, homeopathic Sanguinaria. It's going to be in a little tiny tube about the size of your index finger. It costs about $10 US. And in that bottle, there's going to be about 100 little white medicated pellets. Take 2 of those 3 times a day for 3 days. 2 pellets orally 3 times a day for 3 days. See if it helps. I would also ice it. I would ice this part of your body, 10 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 10 minutes on, 20 minutes off. Take the Healthy Start Pack. I'm pretty sure you just tweaked it, and then it took a couple days for it to catch up. Appreciate your listening, Alan. Keep up the good work. Welcome back, everybody. Finishing up the first hour. One of the guys that produces my show here, one of the guys in there answering the phones and hooking everything up to the soundboard, wants to know what I thought about the CPAP machine, and I'll tell you. It is a nonsense treatment developed by an idiotic brain. MDs, remember, have a very unique way of looking at life. They have a very unique, lopsided way of understanding how the body works and what's going on with the body. It's kind of like if you didn't know anything about astronomy and you went outside for a year and you watched the sun rise in the east and set in the west, you could determine and be as firm and fixed in your belief that it's the earth that moves around, the sun that moves around the earth. Because, look, it moves. Look up in the sky, stupid. It moves, right? You can see it's moving, right? It's the sun that's moving, right? Right? Isn't that right? Well, no, it's wrong because your perspective about the whole thing is wrong. So you can collect all of these data points. You can measure the height of the sun at different times of the day and, collect all the information and predict down to the millisecond where the sun's going to be in the sky tomorrow, and you'd be correct. And then you would also assume and predict or state that the sun moves around the earth, and you'd be wrong because you're missing a data point. Well, the MDs have the same skewed view on what's going on in the human body. So they don't know that the human body has a built-in God-given intelligence. They don't know that the human body has a wise, intelligent, self-regulating mechanism present. They think it's all just a bunch of biochemical entanglements. An evolutionary fiat, a coincidence of biochemistry, right? That's just being cobbled together and kept together by the sealing wax and shoestrings of biochemical nature. So when they see somebody seemingly struggle to breathe at night, they think, oh my God, the respiratory tract needs help. And so they jam a tube onto your face and force oxygen into your lungs with the CPAP machine. That's what they do. Now, very few people have died. I don't believe anybody actually has died from obstructed breathing at night. I believe it's a made-up MD diagnosis. Breathing is regulated. by how much carbon dioxide, nitrogen are in the blood at any moment in time, and how much oxygen is in the blood at any moment in time. When there's a sufficient amount of oxygen, your breathing stops. When there's not enough oxygen and too much carbon dioxide and nitrogen, your breathing starts in again. So, depending on your metabolic rate, depending on your height, depending on your weight, depending on whether the window in your room is open or not, depending on what you had for dinner, depending on how soft the mattress is, etc., 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 your respiratory rate, which is autonomically controlled, it's beyond your conscious control when you're sleeping, is regulated perfectly by your body. Perfectly. So, if you have a slow respiratory rate or a slow metabolism, it takes a long time for oxygen levels to go away in your blood, and so your breathing appears to stop. The only people that are bothered by sleep apnea are the people that are sleeping with the people who have sleep apnea, because it appears to the person who's awake that the person next to them just died because they haven't breathed in 2 minutes. And then when they do breathe, it's like an earthquake. Oh my God, that can't be normal. Well, guess what? It is. Sleep apnea is a made-up illness made by low-minded, single, lopsided, intellectually stunted doctors who have an incomplete understanding of what happens to the human body. There are a handful of people on the CPAP machine who feel better the morning after they're on the CPAP machine. Those people have a circulation problem, not a respiratory problem. They need help supporting and promoting the circulation in their body, because if your body is healthy, you sleep, you wake up in the morning, and you feel fine. You don't feel all groggy and out of it and sluggish. If that's happening, then the game is afoot. And, one way to deal with that is to pump oxygen into your lungs at night, but that kind of misses the point. No such thing as sleep apnea. It's a physician-created disease. And, when will the madness end? I am the red pill, ladies and gentlemen. Snap out of the matrix and get your health back. Hour 2 starts with Jim in California. Stick around.